Welcome back to another edition of Arizona Wildcats Insiders Podcast. I'm your host, Troy Hutchison, and Arizona 3-0 to start the regular season, wraps up the non-conference slate with an impressive 3-0 mark with wins over Hawaii, a 34-point win over Hawaii, a 45-point win over Weber State, and now a 6-point gritty, nail-biting, gutty win over the Kansas State Wildcats. Arizona's rolling into conference play. They're 3-0 for the first time since the 2015 season. That was under Rich Rodriguez. The Wildcats would go on to finish the year 7-5, win their bowl game, and finish at an 8-5 record. They hosted College Game Day the following week, got slammed there. But right now, Arizona's 3-0. They have a bye week coming up. And I want to talk about what we saw in the Wildcats win over the Wildcats in the Wildcat Brawl out in Tucson, Arizona. As Arizona, man, they were impressive defensively. I thought it was one of the more impressive defensive performances that we've seen basically since the 2023 season. Defense line controlled that game. They controlled the line of scrimmage. That's what you do. When you win football games and you become a good team, you control the line of scrimmage on both sides of the ball. That's what we saw in 2023. Arizona had the best offensive line in the Pac-12 that season, one of the best offensive lines in program history, and they had the best defense line in terms of depth in the conference that year. They're able to control, well, outside of Oregon. I will say that, outside of Oregon. They were able to control the line of scrimmage, dictate the tempo, dictate the rhythm of the game back then. Last year, a lot of injuries on the offensive line. Led to guys playing out of place. Was not good. Defense line, they got banged up too. And Arizona couldn't control the line of scrimmage. Against Kansas State, Arizona allowed 105 rushing yards, which is solid, which is pretty good. But when you know 75 of those yards came on one play, a 75-yard run to open up the second half for K-State, wow. We're talking about one play. You minus 75 yards from 105. Left with 30. That's incredible. That's a great defensive game plan. The front seven absolutely own the line of scrimmage for Arizona. All of them earned a helmet sticker for me. I mean, just an impressive performance. They were able to get in the backfield. Oh, yeah, and that guy, Avery Johnson, who rushed for 110 yards and threw for 156 with 2 touchdowns the previous season against Arizona and dominated the tempo of the game. Guess how many yards he finished with rushing on 7 carries? Go ahead, give it a little guess real quick. We'll wait. If you were to say, I don't know, 30, 40, I can understand it. That's a good, solid number in terms of controlling the running game because obviously Arizona was very good against it. He finished with negative 16 yards rushing. Negative 16. Arizona had 1 sack. So it's not sack yards. They owned them. They owned them in the backfield. They owned the line of scrimmage. So credit Arizona's defensive front. And then the defensive unit in general were able to hold Kansas State to 193 yards of total offense and 88 yards through the air. Well done. And I think this is the best secondary in the Big 12. I do. From top to bottom, I think it's the best secondary in the Big 12. I think it's the top 15 in the country. I think this is an improved defensive line that has Danny Gonzalez scheming and switching things up and making it difficult on opposing offenses. But Arizona's defense front, man, dominating effort. Absolute dominant effort, able to get in the backfield, create chaos, create havoc. I think they finished with around 6 tackles for loss, 7 tackles for loss. They made Kansas State their line look like a whack offensive line, look like a non-Power 5 offensive line. They own the line of scrimmage. They couldn't do anything besides one play. Then let's go to Noah Fafita. Was it a great game? No, it wasn't. I would give him a solid B. When you struggle to complete passes, throw for 178 yards. It's not a great, and no touchdowns. It's not a great game, but Fafita didn't turn the ball over. And he hasn't turned the ball over in a while. He hasn't done it all season long. And one of the things he talked about coming into the year was being able to use his legs effectively in the offense and become more of a runner. He did that against Kansas State. He rushed for 48 yards, which is a career high, on 15 carries, and found the end zone twice. First one, he made a nice little juke move, cut in the end zone, touchdown Arizona. Arizona goes up 7-3. Second one, to put Arizona up 17-3, he was able to plow through a line and barely get the ball over, squeak it over for a touchdown. Tutty. And that's his second rushing touchdown in the game. And it took all heart, all grit, and he laid it out there. The goal coming into this year was for Nova Fita to use his legs more. He accomplished that goal against Kansas State. And he was able to keep drives alive and plays alive by moving around in the pocket and finding the open man, finding an Ishmael Mahdi, finding a Javion Watley. They were able to spread the ball out. And you know what? He would have had a passing touchdown and maybe another. He would have had more yards passing if it wasn't some holding calls on the offensive line. I'm going to be honest. I think overall the offensive line had a good day. They had a B-. But, man, they could have finished with an A if they just stopped holding. It killed them. But Fafita was able to overcome those instances and put Arizona in a position to put up points. Again, overcome issues, 3 missed field goals in a game, a blocked punt, a muff punt. It was not a good special teams game for Arizona. They lost the special teams battle. They had holding issues. They had flag issues. And despite that, Arizona won. That's a game Arizona usually loses. So credit the coaching staff, but credit Nova Fita and his legs, man. Not enough has been talked about how he was able to use his legs this game. They had a drive, a 14-15 play drive, I forget the exact number. They ate up 7 minutes and 30 seconds of the clock. Went all the way downfield and got a field goal. Do you want to end it with a touchdown? Hell yes, you do. But you got points. And that was in large part thanks to Nova Fita and his legs, the offensive line playing at a high level. But last year, they didn't have those types of drives. They didn't go on many long drives. So Nova Fita, he gets a helmet sticker because of his legs. Again, it wasn't a great performance, a B performance, but it wasn't a horrid performance. He was able to hurt the defense in different ways and gave his team an opportunity to win. They walked away with the 3-point victories. With the 6-point victory. So credit Nova Fita. He gets a helmet sticker. And lastly, the man of the hour, the man of the night, Ishmael Mahdi. Texas State transfer. Has been banged up so far this season. Finally healthy, and they needed it desperately. But Kedrick Reese-Hill out for the game with an unknown injury. And we learned later in the game, Quincy Craig banged up with a shoulder issue. He barely got any carries. So you needed Ishmael Mahdi to toe the rock. 22 carries, 189 yards, averaging 8.6 yards a carry. Just an incredible performance by Ishmael Mahdi. And he was able to make some things happen in the passing game with around 32 to 36 yards receiving on 3 catches. And he had that nice one where it was like a 20-yard pickup. It was a 3rd and 8 or something like that, 3rd and 10. And Noah threw it to the dump-off man. He plowed through a couple Kansas State defenders, got to the next level, spun out of another tackle, and got the first down. Just an incredible effort by him. And he was able alone with his 221 yards of total offense to outgain Kansas State, their whole entire team. Again, Kansas State had 193 yards of total offense. Ishmael Mahdi, 221. It's about dominating the line of scrimmage, making teams quit. And Ishmael Mahdi, Noah Fafita, and this Arizona defense, that front 7, made Kansas State quit in that game. There's opportunities for Kansas State to get back in it, steal a victory. When Arizona missed that field goal to go up by 9 points late in the fourth quarter, I turned to one of my colleagues. I said, "Oh, they're going to blow this. It's going to be a last-second touchdown pass, last-second run by Kansas State, and you're going to look back and say, man, how did Arizona blow this game?" But credit the defense, credit the running game. They said, no, not today. Not in Tucson. And they're able to seal away the victory, get Arizona to 3-0. They're halfway to bowl contention. And for everybody last season wanting a coaching change after how things transpired with Brent Brennan, now he's sitting there 3-0, kind of laughing and enjoying it. His team is finally his team. The vibe around the locker room is completely different from last year. And now they're going 3-0 into the bye week and have a week to prepare, extra week to prepare and get healthy for Iowa State, who just played in a close game against Arkansas State on the road in Ames, Iowa. If Arizona wins that game, they're 100% ranked. That's number one. And they're the front runner for the Big 12. That's right. You heard me. They would be the front runner for the Big 12 conference. But we have a lot of coverage for you. During the bye week, we'll break down what Arizona has done thus far, talk a little college hoops. Obviously, we'll get to some baseball, softball, women's basketball, volleyball, soccer. We got you covered. Everything Arizona Wildcats, you have on Arizona Wildcats on SI. Follow our Twitter account at Arizona Wildcats on SI, or me, Troy Hutchison, at THutch1995, and we'll see you next time.